Recording. Yeah. Today we're going to see user creation, user management. In that we had adding a new user to Salesforce, user activation and deactivation, login IP ranges, password policies, and then a new topic for permission sets and rules, public use, and so on. Till here we have a user creation and management. These are all like other topics. Okay, so far we see like some of the data modeling stuff and some validation rules and all. But we all say, but it's not for you or like one individual, right? All is to make your system or your org ready, and then what you're trying to do, you're trying to give it to your end users or customers who is going to use your Salesforce application, right? So you need to onboard them into your org. Why? Because you itself having a URL, username and password, but you cannot give it to all of them because you're admin. So you need to set up similarly like you, they should be able to log into Salesforce using a username and password, and their view will be different from you. It's not far different. Like it could be like not administrative stuff, but a end user stuff like what you have been built, screens, UI, what is there, apps, only those they're going to access, not setup or configurations or data model. They really not bother about it, and they should not be able to access it. Okay, so how we can restrict the access that we discussed previously, like edition, license, profile. By using these three, we used to restrict or give access to a logged in user. And okay, we use this three. By using this three, can we like uh, have a new user to log in? No, right? By using this, we have to set up or onboard a new user. Then only they can log in and use the system. So here, today we are going to discuss all about that. Creation of a user, and after creation, how we can manage that and what else we can control on the created user. Okay, first we will check creation of the user. So I logged into our system and I go to setup, and here the navigation will be you need to go to users, and in this user section you need to go to users, and in users you can see already existing users over here. Because I am first user signed up, so Salesforce will automatically create user for me with a system administrator profile. Now if I want to add a new user, I need to go for this new user button. So it will open up a form and I need to fill. Okay, you can see few other buttons over here. New user, reset passwords, add multiple users. New user we'll discuss now. Reset password also, it's a straightforward. You see some couple of users over here, you can just check them and do a reset passwords. Then it will send a link to their email, the link, so that they can, using that link, they can reset their passwords. Okay, at any point of time they forgot their passwords, there itself, from there, and also they can do it. And from administrative level also, you can reset the passwords for the user. And add multiple users also similar to this one, but you'll be having only required information and multiple sections at a single time. Okay. Okay, for now, let's move on to a new user. In the new user, this is how the form is. Now I will try to explain what are all these fields, then I will fill. Okay. This left side items all are like mostly personal information, and some of them are username and unique informations. The first name it's self-explanatory, just a name of first name and second name. And first name is not mandatory, but second name is last name is mandatory. And alias name, like mostly this is what you see in most of your records. When you are owner, you don't see first name or last name, you see only the alias. So you can give some short name. The length of a name is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters only. Alias name. You need to make sure that you give alias name here. And email. It could be any valid email, and you can create any number of users with the same email. There is no restriction. Okay, you already have an email, and you cannot create a one more user with the same email. It's not like that. You can create any user, any number of users with the same email also. And username. Username no need to be exactly same as email, or even if it's same also, no problem. But it should be unique from already existing users in this or in the other org also. Overall Salesforce, the username has to be unique. For example, I have my um, team at bashfo.com, for example. This is my email. Okay, if I give a username also it will take. Only if it is not available already in Salesforce and only it will allow. Otherwise you can use your own convention. Something like this. This is also in the format of email only, so it should be fine. And nickname, it mostly not used anywhere, and just unique random ID. Okay, if you want to change it also you can change, but it is also expected some unique value. And theme for theme. I'm putting some values over here because all of these are required. Remaining all are like your address or company department and all. If you have, you can fill it or it's not mandatory. And role, it is not a required one, but you can give a roles. What actually a roles is. Roles will tell you what is your role in this organization and to whom you are reporting. The reporting role and the subordinate roles, everything will be defined in the user roles, and which basically help you to understand the org structure, to whom report to whom and all. Okay, in the user licenses, I'm selecting a Salesforce license for now. And the profiles, you can select any profile. I'm selecting a standard user profile. Okay, and you can see this is a activate checkbox. And here you see a couple of checkboxes. These checkboxes are called user permissions. These user permissions are like some of the most of the permissions we control at the profile level, right? Like in this profile, you have a big list of permissions. Along with that, you will be having a couple of permissions at a user level. These will not be at the profile level. This will be at a User level only. These are user permissions. So whether you want to make this user as a marketing user, offline user, knowledge user, flow user, or service cloud user, site contribution, or publish user, these are all like a user permission, the additional permissions you're giving at the user level. So this is also there might be a question from your certification or something. Which of the below are a user permissions or something? Yes, you need to like identify. Just have to like a glance of it. What are the different users available here? Okay, at a user level, all these are user level permissions. And there are a couple more personal information like mobile, extension phone, call center, and all. And your address information, single sign-on information. Single sign-on information means in couple of organizations when you're really working in companies, so they do not like to maintain a separate username and password for a Salesforce logins. They wanted to maintain a single username and password for all their applications, and they use only a single authentication provider for that. So from that system, it will generate a federation ID, and you need to feed this federation ID to the user when you're setting up the user. So what will happen? They will get a link, and if they just open the Salesforce link from their app, so it will not ask any username and password. It will automatically, including this link with username and password, it will fetch or feed from that single sign-on by using this federation ID. So it will allow you to log in without username and password. Once you're authenticated in the system, from the system itself, the token or a federation ID will be provided to log you in. Okay, then locally settings basically tells about your time zone and your language and your locally everything will be about your time zone and your which from which location you are and which language you are comfortable with. And approval settings. This is basically when you having set up any kind of approval process. Okay, so who is your immediate manager? Who is your delegated approver? They are also the other users in your Salesforce. So if you want to map who is a manager and delegated approver at the user level, you can use these fields, and these fields will be help in defining the approvers while you have any kind of approval processes. And last one is this checkbox. What is this checkbox? Whenever you create a user, for suppose you have some release or you have to release some features to a users at same time, and you have to onboard 100 users at a time. Is it possible for you to create 100 users in fraction of seconds? Not possible, right? So what you want to do is you want to set up all this user like profile, role, and all information. You want to create the user, but you don't want to let the user know that the user is being created in Salesforce. You just not want to make this user notified about your user creation. If you uncheck this box, the user will not be aware that user is created for him. And you save and you create all the 100 records either manual or from data load or other button called add multiple users. In any means you can create, make sure you uncheck this box so that it will not send any link to them to log into a Salesforce. They don't know the username and they don't know the URL. They cannot log into a Salesforce. Okay. Whenever you want to um, get them notified, then you check this box and do a save, then they will receive a invite mail. Okay, 1 second. Just trying to open a new window to get my email. Okay, I'm giving my Gmail and do a save. Okay, that is all for creation of a user. And once user is created, there are a couple of other permission that we can control on a user level. Adding a permission set assignment activation, permission set group, permission set license. Okay, personal group and public group membership, queue membership, team. These are all different additional membership at the user level. You see at the top, and if you can scroll down to see all the list. And you can see here login history, whether this user has logged in or not. If already logged in, when, where, which IP, when they started, when they logged in, and which country they logged in, everything you can see from here, login history. Okay, I might have received a email because I created a user for me, this email basically. So I might get this invite, verify your account mail. In the verify your account mail, it will give your username and your link and asking to verify so that you can verify it. Okay. So because on Chrome, I already using one login, so it will not work. What I will do, I will just copy this link address and I will just open it in a different browser. Okay, so here I am opening this link. Let's see what will happen. Okay, ready for new password, reset password. So it's asking for a set password. So usually this might be your screen. Whenever you click verify account, you will be onto this screen. So set your password. Set your password and you can give whatever security question you want to put. We have big list here and you can keep your answer and you can confirm. So you are in. Okay, that's it. Okay, you have created the user now. Okay, what else we can do on this management basically? Here, user activation and deactivation. Okay, so for now, you created the user. I'm just refreshing this because I logged in, right? Let's see what should be the login history of mine. Okay, you see OnePlus is there. So there is one login history and it's saying like what is the IP address, source address, when, what is the time in PDT time zone and application status. And sorry, login type is application. What is application is browser. What is the login URL? What is the location? Everything it is giving you the information. And if you're giving a wrong password and if you're trying to log in also, you can check. It will say the login failed with so and so reason, wrong password or like wrong URL, all this also you can know by looking at the login history. Okay, now suppose I created a user. Now I don't want this user. I wanted to remove or delete this user from a Salesforce. Is it possible? How we can do it? To answer that question, we cannot delete a user from Salesforce by any means, even if you have administrator or super admin, any kind of access, you cannot delete a user records in Salesforce. Okay, then how I can stop user from logging in? I don't want this user to be logged into a Salesforce. That is what I wanted. Yeah, there's other ways of doing it, but not a deletion of a user record. Okay, what we can do? We have two options to not to allow user from logging to log in by any means. One is making this flag false. Active flag you have to uncheck so that the user become inactive and you cannot log in anymore. So how I can uncheck? Click on edit and then uncheck this box and do a save. That's it. So he will be inactive now. Okay. And what is the other way? Freeze him. When you click on a freeze, you have option to unfreeze. So in this state, so when I freezed him, he is in a freeze now. He cannot log in. When you click on unfreeze, then only the user will be able to log in. Okay, both are same, right? Then why we have a two options? Why we have a freeze and why we have a active inactive? The difference is usually when we want to temporarily stop the user from logging in and it's not a permanent, then we'll go for a freeze. And if it's inactive, it is something permanent. No, it's also not permanent. If you inactivate, again you can activate, or again you can inactivate. Any number of cycles you can do. Then what is the difference is you are using one license here, right? The user license. Okay. When you're using a license here, when you freeze, still the license being used for this user. It will not release back to org. When you inactivate the user, the license will be released back to your org and you can use it for other users. Let's see the difference. Okay, company information. Here we can see information about all licenses. So in the user licenses, I have a Salesforce license and I have two licenses and two is being used and only zero is remaining. Why two is being used? Only I created one, right? Other one is for myself. So there are two users, right? I signed up. So I given a Salesforce license, one license. Now I created one more user. So two licenses are used. Okay. Now if I edit and deactivate this user and do a save, what happened? I inactivated this user now. And if I go and check, so here there is a zero remaining license. If I refresh and see how many licenses are available now, this license will be back available to you to use for other user. Okay. For example, you not activate, I mean, like you're not inactivate, just activate this user and you see it will again get in use, right? Two is being used. Okay. And if you freeze the user, okay, so then what will happen? Let's check whether it will reflect the license or not. See, it's still in use. It is not released back. And if I try to go to a user and try to add a new user with a license, Salesforce license, whether you will be able to do it or not. You can choose licenses and you don't see a Salesforce license here because you don't have it. So it will not show you an option to select the license. Okay, that is the difference between a freeze, unfreeze, active, inactive of a user. This is to like uh, completely stop user from logging in. Okay, but I don't want to completely stop user from login, but I want to somehow restrict in couple of ways. Okay, what are the other ways of doing it? They are login IP ranges, login hours, and password. Password also is not a restriction, but it's like more on a secure side. Okay, login IP ranges. Basically, this login IP ranges we define at a profile level. So this is a user and you have this profile, right? Standard user. Let's go to this profile. On this profile, I will define a login IP ranges so that I'll want to make sure this profile users should always be login within the range I gave. If they're trying to log in outside of that login IP range, then I am not going to allow them to log in. So it's not I'm completely blocking them, but I'm restricting them to log in only specific IP ranges. For example, you have your employees working for you and they work in your office and in office systems. Okay. And you want to make sure they should not be able to log in outside your premises or outside your system because you have URL and username and password. So they are users and they know all of it. And you want to make sure they should not be able to log in outside of your office premises or office systems. How you can stop them? By providing a login IP ranges. You know your office IP ranges, so you create your office IP range. Suppose if it is from some range, you know your IP range and you'd like to not allow. Just I'm giving a note. It's not mandatory, just to make sure that what is your range. Invalid internet address. Sorry, it's not a colon, it should be just a dot. My bad. The list of IP ranges do not cover a current IP address. Okay, 115. Okay, so it's just a warning. It's giving the current login IP also not covered in that range, so it's asking to confirm. Okay, so this is the IP range I gave. So if I try to log in within this IP, then only it will allow. If it's outside, it will not allow you to log in. That's how the login IP ranges work. Okay, it is good. Now go to a password policies. I think we might have already discussed it. Well, not sure, but you have this password policies at a profile level. What is the password policies you want to give to your profile users? You can define it here like when your password should expire, 90 days, 30 days, never expire, how many password history you want to not to repeat. The system will remember that what is the minimum length, what is the complexity, okay, password question requirements, maximum invalid login attempts, and when you want to lock if they try to um, um, try to give invalid passwords. If they try 10 times, then you will say that your system is locked. And once it is locked, how much time you want to lock it for, 15 minutes, 15 days, or permanently, until unless system admin go and unlock you. Okay, and this is like other, what are the other password policies you want to keep? Okay, so this will be applicable for all this profile users. Okay. So next we're going to cover a permission sets, role, public groups and queues. Okay, let's join back on the same link and continue. Okay.